In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
This is the Scarlet Supporters Podcast. You can contact us on all the usual social media platforms, or you can email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scarlet Supporters Podcast with me, Lee G, and joining me as always is Martin and Hugh. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening, Lee.
Evening, boys. How are we doing?
Yeah, I thought you'd frozen then, Matt. I thought you'd completely. It's the look of that stunned look on your face from, oh my God, I've got to use my phone because my son just wrecked my laptop, I think.
Yeah, I think it was more the introduction as Martin than anything. I know it was quite unusual, you know.
Oh, Big M. I've had a couple of weeks off, mate, and I'm all over the place.
You're fine, but you're fine.
So how is the laptop? Did it recover in any way, shape or form?
If anything, it got worse. It started off with a little crack in the left corner. And, the second time he showed me, it had gone to full screen. So, fun.
Someone's popular in your house then.
Yeah, well, I'd say he's been demoted to downstairs, but he loves being downstairs. Apparently, the internet is better down there.
Cool. Well, let's crack on with some Scarlet stuff and some rugby stuff then, gents. And let's do some Scarlet stuff first. So, the only real news coming out of Scarlets last week was the new away kit. So, what did we all make of the new away kit?
I like it.
Is it? Sorry, go on, man.
Yeah, we need to work out a timing issue with this, and do we rotate? Do I go first, then you go first, or because Lee is obviously main host here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Go on, Mark. Go first. Let's do that. You go first, Mark.
All right, and I quite like the kit. It's different, obviously, especially with the color. I think everyone will have an opinion on the color. The whole coastal outlines, I like the concept. I don't think it's been executed as well as it could have, but I've been down to the shop, I've seen you in person, and it does look really nice. I am pretty happy with the away kit.
And price?
We shouldn't talk about the price. Let's not move on to the negative so quickly.
Yeah, Hugh, what did you make of it, mate?
Well, there was the big debate on Twitter, was there? Is it blue? Is it green? The Scarlet's press release said it was sea green. You said it was green, Lee. But then the website said it was blue. So we can have that raging debate all season. What colour is the Scarlet's kit? It can be that black and blue, gold and white dress.
That's what I was thinking. I was looking at it and I was thinking, when you go on to order it, it says blue. And I'm like, I don't want the blue kit. The blue kit was last year. Surely the blue kit was the training gear, the leisure wear gear from last year. I want the green kit. But yeah.
So, but I've unfortunately already gone into writing on a post I did previously about I'm not a Castor fan. They have a kind of design thing. If you go on their website and read about all the things they say about themselves and all the things they say about other brands, they're quite snobby. They're quite all other clubs are supplied by a small clique of suppliers. We're a premium brand and we prestige. We've got all this material technology and things. It's kind of a bit off-putting for me. So I like the idea of having the outline of the coast. I think it's good. I like this trend of kits that we're seeing, because I look at a lot of kits and seeing all the patterns and things they're putting on the shirts and moving away from like just being plain. I don't know. For me, this one misses the mark a little bit, but I believe, Mark, if it looks better in person, then maybe I need to see it used in a game when we can see us wear it against Glasgow for no reason, for example.
Yeah.
There does seem to be a couple of games every season. So there's always a couple of games every season where there's no need to wear the change kit, and we always do, isn't it?
Do you remember that Bath game? Last time we played Bath in the Champions Cup, both teams wearing grey. Right. But you do get, and everyone was going, what's going on with this? No one can work it out. And then we've had games against the Dragons where there has been a kit clash because we both had the same. Anyway, so yeah, ranting now, but you are right. There's always games every season where you wear your alternate kit, and there's no need to.
What were you going to say, Matt?
Well, seeing it in person, I think it's more of a sort of a teal, sort of turquoisey sort of colour in it. It's I wouldn't class it as green or blue. It is, somewhere mixed in between, and it's not an easy mix either. But yeah, there is always the odd away game, well, home game where we change kits for some random reason. I know there's, a requirement in the contract that you have to play X amount of games in each kit, which is, kind of weird, considering, we should have this all planned out from the moment we bloody sign these contracts. Which games are we playing in which kit, like?
Because it would only really clash with Munster, wouldn't it? That's the only side it really clashes with.
Lions.
The Lions red now, are they?
True.
Well, they're red and white today.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. See, for me, I think that green is meant to reflect, like I say, the sea around the coast. So I like that connection. And I can see bits of the coast where it's a lovely sea green colour, and I think that's great. But then most of our sea coast at the minute, given the current state of affairs, is more of a greeny brown than it is a greeny blue. So I'm glad we didn't go with reality and we went with this kind of, the sea is a lovely, let's say, teal colour. So the hardcore question is, will you be buying the kit? So Mart, are you going to be buying? You buy everything anyway. So are you going to buy that kit?
I will buy it. I won't buy it yet. I'll wait for it to hit sub 50 before I'll touch it. Once they get the smaller size kits in, because they haven't got anything below, junior small at the minute. So everything 9 and under just doesn't exist in the shop. So once they start coming in, I'll probably pick 1 or 2 of them up for my kids.
Hugh, what about you, mate? I think I know this one.
I'm desperate to buy a bit of Scarlets merch. I haven't bought anything since we had Brad Moore, and I bought one of those flat caps. But sadly, no, I'm not going to be passing with my money on this one.
I think I'm probably on the fence. If I was going to choose red or green, I'd probably go green just because of the design of the coast. But for me, it's a little bit pricey at the minute, and I'll probably do the same as you, Martin. Wait till it comes down a little, and then we'll see. We'll see how much I love the club then. So moving on then, there was actually a game to report on last week with the academy players. So Mark, this is usually your area of expertise. Did you manage to get the game, or what have you heard about the game?
Unfortunately, I couldn't get down. It was this past Friday. The missus decided to book an impromptu holiday away down Puthcall. Puthcall in the middle of summer is it's quite nice, except it rains most of the time. It doesn't matter where you are in Wales, you're going to get the rain. But quite a big under 18s game to kick off the season. Scarlets against Saracens. Quite a few boys from last season held on, but majority were new boys, so a lot of new faces coming in, and it was quite a resounding win, 56-33. So I know there's differences in the 2 academies between Wales and England, but you're talking a 4-score win over probably the best side in England. You don't want to cock your nose up at that.
No, absolutely.
And to top it off, out of these boys, we got 6 of them who are now away this week with Wales under 18. So it's good signs in the under 18s at the minute.
And my favourite player, Tian Sparrow, was back from injury as well, and was his usual wrecking ball self. So he's another one that I am keeping an eye on. Looking forward to seeing him coming through in the future. He's not your typical 7. He's gangly, skinny. He's massively fit, and he just seems to get into tiny little cracks in rucks and nick the ball and go, "Thank you very much." He's one of those players that I watched a lot last season, and I think if we get a chance to see him again this season, particularly, the concern is that they'll make him bulk up, and how that affects his game when he's bulked up. But yeah, lots of good stuff coming through from Academy. So then we move on to the negative stuff of the Barbarians game. So the Wales versus Barbarians game, which I think we spoke about last time, but it's been confirmed now that it definitely clashes with Scarlets versus Cardiff. Hugh, what do you make of it, mate?
Well, yeah, like you say, Lee, we covered it last time, I think. It's a shame. I feel like they tried to sneak it out. Obviously, they dressed it up as the Alan Wynne-Jones tribute game, which is bizarre because I can't think of anything less Alan Wynne-Jones than that. But yeah, I think they've done it on the same day as the team announcement for England, so I think they tried to hide it with that as well. Yeah, and I was talking to our mutual friend, Dr. Harley Worthy. Shout out, Harley, if you're listening. And he was pointing out that from a Cardiff point of view, based on the fact that all of the non-Welsh based players won't be available, there's a good chance that Cardiff won't be able to field a 23 for the Scarlets game because they'll have players all with Wales. And he was joking that, well, with the new loan system, Scarlets are going to have to sub Cardiff some players to play against us. Yeah, so I'm not any more of a fan of it. Wales rugby can't do something right for doing something wrong. We beat England, everyone's feeling quite positive all of a sudden. And then, oh no, here we go. We don't care at all about the domestic game. It's on the same weekend as Ospreys are doing their big show over in London as well. So not any more of a fan of it than I was previously. And I'd like to be at the start of the revolution with you guys. So let's print I wasn't at the Principality t-shirt. So let's pack the park and show the WRU exactly what it is that we're really here for.
Well, I will have a spare bit of time on my hands over the coming weeks. So a new range of t-shirts will be available on the shop. One that says, "I would have bought this in the Scarlet shop," and one that says, "I wasn't at the Millennium Stadium." So anybody's got any requests for any t-shirts, let me know, and I'll make sure they're in there. But so, Martin, what did you make of it?
Oh, I think you already know my opinion. I'm absolutely devastated. I can't believe that they would just do this to us again repeatedly. It's time after time after time, and we've just had all the sort of positive coming forwards. The new PRA agreement or 6-year funding, blah blah blah. It's going to be better. No, it's not. We've had a prime slot, a good kickoff time on a Saturday afternoon, our first home game of the season. And what do you do? Oh, we're going to take all your best players and, we'll have a match at the same time. I mean, where's the sense in it? We could have, got into the 10,000s in this game if we pushed it properly. A big derby against Cardiff to open the season at home.
Especially if Wales have gone well in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I am devastated is the word I can use for it. It doesn't make sense to me. I know they need money, but there's other ways to do it than, messing up the regions, because they want us to, improve our commercial side of things. Well, how are we going to do that when we can't fill out those stadiums and no one's going to want to watch us when you're playing?
Well, see, I think that there might actually be a bit of a supporters backlash on this. And I think supporters might go, actually, nah, up yours. And purposely make the effort to go and watch Scarlets and Cardiff. Do you know what I mean? And just for the sake of, to show the WRU that actually you can't keep doing this. I say that game could have been played on a Sunday. If anything, you'd have had more supporters go to watch that Barbars game if it was on a Sunday, or what is on the Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they could have played it on the Friday night. On the Friday night probably would have been a bigger game, in terms of Cardiff, in terms of pulling people in from further afield and things like that, and could have actually benefited Scarlet's Cardiff game, with people going, oh, well, I'll do the Friday night in Cardiff and then I'll go down to Leslie on Saturday and things like that. So I think it was a massive opportunity missed by the WRU. But I hope, and I think supporters will start to demonstrate with their wallet and say, actually, no, we're going to go and watch Cardiff and Scarlets down in Leslie, regardless of who's playing, what players are released and this, that, and the other. And we're going to make a point of saying that the WRU need to stop it. That's my hope, anyway. That's my hope. I'm starting the campaign now. I'll be marching at the front with a T-shirt on, available from the shirt from the shop. But that just says you can't do this to regions. You can't keep shafting them time after time after time and not expect something to come back your way on that. So anyway, we'll leave that one there, because that's just not going to get any better at all. And what's the actual date of that game? It's kind of November, isn't it? Isn't it November 5th?
It's the week after the World Cup final.
Yeah. I've got November 5th in my head as a rough time. So it's around about there that we would... Hang on. I'll see how quick I can get my bloody diary up and going, boys. Because August, September, October, November... Yeah, it'd be the 4th. Yeah, November the 4th. So we got a while of whinging, moaning, complaining, and getting a few people together to say, actually, yeah, I'm going to go watch regions over a fucking joke of a fixture in Cardiff on that one. I'm not even going to excuse my French on that. So that's the way it goes. Right. So let's have a chat about the Wales game from last weekend. So Q, what interesting facts and magic numbers have you got for us from the Wales game or from the Wales-England game?
Okay, so this is the new bit of the podcast, which is Hugh's magic numbers that we're doing. I've got two stats for you. One is not Scarlets related, but one is very Scarlets related and in a good way. So the first one is that how bad were England? Well, they had 78% of their possession in Wales's half and scored 0 tries. That is remarkably crap attack. That is
definitely. Yeah.
You won't see those kind of numbers come out very often. And then my other stat is that obviously with Danny Kerr and Ben Youngs being the England nines for the World Cup, there's a lot of chat about how just England aren't bringing through players in certain positions, and scrum half being one of them. And I just checked out of interest. So in the last 10 years, Scarlets have had 3 scrum halves go on and play for Wales: Aled Davies, Gareth Davies, and Kieran Hardy. And between them, they've got 105 caps. So if you add up all of the caps that are given to players for England who aren't Ben Youngs or Danny Kerr in the last 10 years, it comes to 47 caps. So the Scarlets are twice as good at producing scrum halves for international level as the whole of England.
I like that.
I like
really
that stat. Yeah. And if you add in Dane Blacker, probably should have been capped when he was at the Scarlets as well. You know, he deserved the cap, because at the time he was on fire. So
I think we'll be chucking in Harry Williams before too long as well. No, not Harry Williams.
Archie Hughes.
Archie Hughes. Yes.
Yeah. Harry's gone, and he's up to Jersey Trail Finders, wasn't it? He was Nottingham.
One of them. Elan, I think it might be Amptill actually. Because
it's normally either Jersey or Amptill, isn't it?
Yeah, with Paul Turner, wasn't it? Paul Turner's at Amptill. Yeah.
But that's a semi-pro setup, so he's going to have to get a job as well.
Well, talking to people who no longer have jobs that are still playing rugby, Halfpenny made his 100th cap on the weekend. He had to go and sign on in the morning. He had to go and sign on at the Dole and get his £24.57 for the week, and then he had to turn out for Wales in the afternoon. But I know he's technically no longer a Scarlet, but he's still, once a Scarlet, always a Scarlet sort of thing. Hell of an achievement for a guy that spent half of his career injured.
He should have got 100 a long time ago. He should be on about 120, 130 by now. But yeah, I declare my bias. Lee Halfpenny was one of my very first favourite players. And watching his career go from this quite small kid playing on the wing for Cardiff Blues to what he did with Wales, becoming arguably the best fullback in the world for a period of time. And then, getting his 100 and being, obviously I was there to see him get his 100. It was special for me. So yeah, if you're listening, Lee, come on the pod. I want to tell you how much I love you.
Top man.
Without trying to put too much of a downer on it, obviously, he deserves 100 caps for the career he has had. But I am quite surprised he's made that 100, considering he couldn't get into the Scarlets 15, in the back end of the season. But now he's capable of getting to the Wales 23. It boggles your mind how selection processes and things work. How much faith is put in with what you've done in the past.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it with Gatland is he uses training camps as a bit of a tester, and Wales play a very different game to the Scarlets, and Halfpenny's probably more suited to a Wales game than he is to a Scarlets game now. He isn't quick enough, probably lost a little bit of pace and a little bit of fitness. But I'll be fair to the guy, he's only tiny, but when he put those tackles, every time he goes into a tackle, I get this feeling that there we go, he's off. Yeah, see if he gets up. Let's see if he's still on the pitch after this tackle. But fair dues, if it's possible to work on your technique at his age, then he has. And I felt he was rock solid in defence. Nothing special in attack. I don't remember anything in attack where, I thought, come on, let's have it. But yeah, defence.
He's more of a playmaker than a actual strike runner these days, I think.
Yeah, and I think that comes from losing that edge of pace, doesn't it? It's just you just got that thing. So you hinted here, Hugh, that you were at the ground on Saturday. Did you find a parking space first, fella?
I did. I booked in Q Park. Thank you, Lee, for the tip. Walked down. I don't know what it's called. That
boulevard type place, isn't it?
Boulevard.
Yeah.
I tell you what. Summer series. I don't know what it was, but it was summer. There was a gale blowing down there. It was freezing, but I'm looking at the missus, and she's nearly getting blown away in the wind, and I'm there in my waterproof and things. And we got inside, my ears were stinging. That's how cold it was.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly, it was horrible. But after the game, when the baddies had been vanquished, everybody came out and the sun was shining and the wind had gone, all the clouds had gone, so it was lovely. But yeah, great. It was fun being there. It's my first time seeing England, my first time seeing Wales versus England in person. I was very lucky to get tickets off a friend of a family member who couldn't go. And yeah, had decent seats on the side. I love going to the stadium. I've been to Twickenham a few times recently, and our stadium basically is on their stadium. I'm sorry, guys. And with all warm-up games, at first I was like, well, I'm not that fussed about how this one goes. And then I saw a few England fans, and I saw all their posh haircuts and things, and how they were singing Swing Low, and I thought, oh, I can't be losing to this lot. I can't be coming to this and watching us lose to this. So yeah, and yeah, job done. So I had fun. Something that was really good in the stadium that wasn't captured really on TV was the big fire show as the themes came out. There was there must have been.
It looked like there's about 20 of them, like all across the pitch.
Yeah,
and
there's loads, and loads of different, and it's all choreographed, and you had DJ Navidi doing all his thing. So it was good fun. Yeah, I enjoyed my day out.
Yeah, we get. I think we got about 6 pyros at the Scarlets, down the park, and it keeps you warm. But no, it's nothing on the Millennium. It is a different kettle of fish entirely.
Well, when they started with just two. The very first time they did it, they had 2 towers of fire either side of players as they came out, and as Wales came out, these towers of fire went up. And in the next game, there was like little mini towers all around the outside, and like you say, it's choreographed, so it would go bum 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 bum, and then woof everything up, I guess. And you just thought, yeah, it adds to something. And like you say, if you're down the front, particularly if you're down the front, you've got to start stripping off. You've got to start taking you down to your t-shirt and pants before kick-off, because it's really, really hot. So, but I like that part of it. I like that
something we get wrong at the Scarlets a bit with that kind of thing is the fog afterwards.
Yeah.
When they've let all the fireworks off, and then the fog sits on the pitch, and the commentator's going, "I'd love to tell you what's going on, but all the fog from the fireworks hasn't cleared. You can't see a thing."
Well, in the Millennium, they had, when the roof is closed, they've got fans at each corner that have to kind of recirculate the air, because it's something to do with the air pressure inside the dome and all of that kind of stuff. A bit like Wimbledon, when they put the cover over at Wimbledon, they've got to wait for like half an hour after or whatever to normalise the air pressure and all of this kind of stuff. So it's the same in the Millennium. They've got to keep constantly pulling the air out and pushing it in. Whereas at Parc y Scarlets, because it's all out in the open, there's no fans, there's no air blowing it around. Like you say, it just sits there. And there are times when you're 5-10 minutes into the match and they're running back through where the fireworks are. It can get quite confusing.
Yeah, so, it's all down to the humidity, which is what makes it set. But that is something we should be able to forecast. We know what the weather conditions are. We know how much fire we should really be putting on.
Yeah, or just get a fan. Just get a fan that goes like that. After they've done the Here Come the Scarlets, lovely jubbly, and they just get a massive fan that goes, and then it all blows away, and then everyone's happy.
And you know what? We could make it so that it doesn't cost anything. We can get a crank candle as you walk into the stadium. You give it a good crank, and everyone who comes in powers it for you.
Well, they've got all those boys sitting on those wee little bikes doing their little warming up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Let's use a bit of bombs.
See, I bet no one's thought of that until just now.
You could offer cheap seats. You could put 10 of them across the front, and if you're willing to power the fan to clear the fireworks, you get a really good seat at the front.
Yeah.
So, what do we actually make of the game? Let's talk about the game in general first, and then we'll talk about Scarlets players. But what do we make of the game on the weekend? Martin.
It was enjoyable. It wasn't a great watch, but it was a good watch. I can say I enjoyed it from when I was sitting, on a bloody in a beer garden, so that was quite nice. But yeah, the game itself, it had its moments. It really didn't peak. At least it didn't peak for me. It felt like going through the motions a lot of the time.
I think the first half was a bit naff.
couple of tries, win against England. Can't really complain.
But what do you think of the first half compared to the second half?
Well, tale of two halves, isn't it? It was always going to be. It's always the same with every international game, really. The first and second halves are always such a contrast with each other. You either find that you're testing each other out, or you just come out all guns blazing. And unfortunately, us testing each other out just seemed to bore on a little bit.
So, Hugh, what did you make of the amount of times that England cocked up a line out in hour 22? So I think there was 3, maybe 4 line outs.
England lost 5 line outs in the whole match, and it felt like most of those were in our half. Obviously, Plumtree came on, who we came on to talk about, and he pinched one right in front of us. He went up. It was as if he knew the call. He went up and took it. I'm so used to watching Welsh teams, whether it's the Wales men's team or any of the regions, not being able to catch a line out to save their lives. So to watch someone have a day like that against us, to watch us being able to pinch lineouts, like some lineouts we were throwing up 2 jumpers on their call. We were so confident of taking it. It was, I don't recall seeing a Welsh lineout performance quite like that. And I don't recall seeing one so bad against us. I think they clearly didn't have any kind of understanding of what they were trying to do between that group of forwards that they had on the pitch at that time. I'd be guessing as to what Borthwick's had them doing in training, but not lineouts.
And you would have thought with someone like Steve Borthwick as head coach, scrum and lineout will be absolutely nailed down week 1, and no matter who they put in there, that's the basis on which England progress. I was shocked a little. I was. The scrum wasn't particularly dominant. I think there were a couple of 50-50 calls that went against us and 50-50 calls that went with us. But it wasn't like we were finding reverse gear and running backwards or anything like that. If anything, there were a couple of times where we were kind of getting a nudge on England. And I was expecting a lot more of a challenge from England than what actually turned up last Saturday. And
we could have got 4 tries in that second half. It finished 20-0, but Grady went close in one corner, and obviously Zammit with his chance on the other side. We could have come out of that with 30 plus in our favour, and that would have been remarkable. It's definitely not what we were expecting, was it? It was so Warren ball though. It was so back to what Gatland does best, which is take your chances and then let the other team have the ball.
Well, I was sitting there with the boy, and we were watching the game, and I was going, "We're back to Warren ball," and he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, watch now. 1 pass, contact, ruck. 1 pass, contact, ruck. 1 pass, contact, ruck. 1 pass, contact." And it was quite mundane. And then second half, we did start to loosen up a little, and I think a lot of that came from Costello. I thought Costello had a really good game. Yes, he dropped a couple of high balls, but I think his control of play was absolutely superb, because I think he saw some of the options, like the one for Gareth Davis's try. We start off on the right, it comes out, crossfield kick left, 2 rucks, crossfield kick right. Nobody does that. Do you know what I mean? Nobody goes crossfield kick followed by crossfield kick. And it was that second crossfield kick where we'd left numbers right and England hadn't. And I think I'd like to think that he saw that, and it was such a beautifully weighted kick. Fair play to Wainwright.
Wainwright had a lot to do though. But I think I read that someone reckoned it was a ploy because England ended up with Kerr on the wing, facing up against Wainwright. So they reckoned that was a deliberate trying to manufacture that mismatch from Wales. But you're right, it was awesome how Sam made it happen. And your point about the high balls. So he dropped 2 high balls late on in the first half. First thing England did in the second half was put another high ball on him, and he caught it. Yeah. So that was like, there you go. That's all you got to worry about.
Yeah. So, Mark,
yes, I think I counted during the game 3 mistakes. 2 were high balls and 1 was a hit to touch that didn't go out. But other than that, he was great. He was close on dual moments from him as well. A few times he cut the line, which
we're not used to seeing that, are we?
Being Welsh and watching rugby in the Gatland era, we haven't seen a running 10 really hold a jersey for a long time. So just to see him do that sort of thing was it brings a tear to your eye as a Welshman, seeing a number 10 with a ball in 2 hands running.
Well, even in the first half, Zamet's try, which was pretty much the only interesting bit of the first half. He takes the ball, he drifts out, and then it's a beautiful little flick back inside. And I think Zamet was a little bit shocked that that the ball had actually got to him, because usually when he runs that line, the outside half gets dicked and the ball gets knocked on, and he's running in space going, "Why didn't you pass?" And he's like, "Jesus, someone's actually passed me the ball, and I'm inside the 22," and he stumbled and stuff. But yeah, I thought Costello was. It'll be interesting to see how Owen Williams and Bigger react to what he did last weekend, because we know as Scarlets that Owen Williams can be a bit more creative than what he has been of late, and we also know that Bigger isn't a particularly creative player, but he is a good controlling player. So I think it's more about how Gatland sees the game going. Does he want someone that can break it up? Does he want someone that can take the opportunity and see the gap? Or does he want someone like Bigger? And as if Hanscom's even fit for any game, that throws another curveball in there. But I can see Costello going probably his first option at 10 from that.
Well, the way Gatland was speaking about him after the game when asked, Gatland kept saying things like, "Oh, next time he'll know to do this," or "this next time he'll do something a bit better." So that suggests that he's in his plans. And obviously, if you look at the age profile of the other 10s and Anscombe going off to Japan, Sam's going to be he's going to have to be in every Wales squad for a while now, just due to lack of other options. But yeah, I'm excited. The other thing that I just want to pick some people up on, I won't name him, but there was a prominent Welsh rugby Twitter account made a big thing out of Sam's size before the game, and said that he's too small, and it's not going to be funny when he gets trampled all over by the opposition players. I messaged you guys on the group when I saw that and said, since I've been watching for the Scots, I've never seen him shirk a tackle. No. He always makes his tackle, and England did target him a few times, and he brought him down every time.
Yeah, they obviously haven't watched much of his Scarlets rugby, because that boy is a defensive animal. He tackles absolutely everything. He might be small in height, but he is not short in stature at all. He will take on anyone. He was probably doing one-on-ones with Callum Mahoney for the last 2 years, taking him at full pelt. This boy, he does. I can't, say anything negative about his defensive game. He gives his heart. He wears it on his sleeve. You see it on his face every time he goes in for a tackle. He wants it.
He's probably got a chip on his shoulder about it, hasn't he? He's probably thinking like, "You think you're going to run over me? Well, you're not." I really like that. Yeah, he's one of my favourite players at the moment. I'm so glad he's getting his opportunity. And Gatland gave him a chance to succeed as well, because he gave him Cawdor on his inside. He's got Halfpenny behind him. He had the experienced players to take the pressure of him. Whereas when Pivac tried to give Costello a chance, he either give him the junk minutes against New Zealand, or he threw him under the bus against Georgia. I was really disappointed with how Pivac treated Sam. So it was nice to see Gatland, for once, put out a team that gave the new caps and the youngsters an opportunity to succeed.
And that was the other player that I was going to ask about. What did you think about Gareth Davis? Somebody that 12 months, well, not even 12 months ago, 6 months ago, was basically told, under Gatland, probably your international career is finished because we're going with Reece Webb. And I thought that performance on Saturday was classic Cordo, to be honest. What do you make of it, Matt?
I love it. I love Gareth Davies, apart from the fact that he's part Hulk. You know, he is he's a brilliant all-round player. Okay, his box kicks are never going to be perfect every single time. And there's always going to be an area of your game that you can tighten up on. But what he does extremely well. And that came through on Saturday, unbelievably so. Just picking up on those little cheat lines as every good scrum half does. And his speed of ball was impressive for me, because that's normally something that I found Kieran Hardy has an edge on him. But on Saturday, that ball was flying everywhere.
And I think that's kind of given him, that bit where you get demoted, you can either go back into your shell and go, okay, I'm going to take my retirement in Japan now, thank you very much. Or you can go, no, I'm going to stand and fight. And he's the kind of player that will stand and fight. And you can see the improvement in his game. The bit I like with him is defensively, when he's when he's at number 2 or number 3 in the defensive line, and you can just see him eyeing up an interception. And I think it was only twice where he shot the line, and once he was, a couple of inches away from it, and you just think, yeah, he's back. That's a good for at least 2 or 3 tries come World Cup time. Just having him firing out that line. Not even him, have your fastest player lined up, ready to just hit your that 3-4 channel. And I love seeing it, because there's always this anticipation of and it's I really like that with him. So let's talk negatives. 6 minutes in, and Ryan Elias is off with an injury again. So they've said
2 of our hookers bust.
Yeah, but I mean, they've said it's not a serious injury, but Elias has spent 6 months out with an injury, something like that. He comes back. I think he played the last couple of games of the season or something, didn't he? Or he was there or thereabouts, and now into Wales camp.
How many times have we seen in the season,
Yeah. No. And I know Gatland rates him highly, and I know he's meant to be this big athletic.
He is big for a hooker. He is compared to other nations hookers. He is taller and heavier. Maybe that's why Gats likes him.
Yeah, but for me, and I'm going to shoot myself for saying this now, I actually prefer Dewi Lake as a hooker. Like he's got. I know. Let's just forget that he's an Osprey for a second, but I don't get the fuss around Elias. I think from the way that I like to see the game being played, I felt we had better hookers on the pitch when he wasn't there last season. I thought some of the hookers that we've released were probably better than him to play a more expansive, exciting game. The other hookers that we had, they were generating turnovers, they were slipping balls to wingers, and I know he's an aggressive, abrasive number 2, but yeah, for me, I'm not as big. I'm not going to say he's a crap player, because he's not. He's a highly talented player. Just for me, the type of game that I would like to see being played, I think there are other hookers that better suit that game, if that makes sense. And it depends if Gatland wants to go with an exciting game or Warren Ball. So, what did you guys make of it?
I will agree with you. I will agree with you with Dewi Lake. I think he is the future. You can see it in him. He will be, our hooker for a good minimum 5-6 years, unchallenged, I would say. Probably even longer. But I'm knowing that you were once a scrum coach, I'm very disappointed in your comments about Elias. what he offers is a lot of the unseen work, as you know, as a lot of players in the forwards are. And you know, I know you know making the comments of stealing ball. He is he's similar in the aspect to Dan Davis has been for the Scarlets. His work in and around the ruck, slowing ball down, and it's just there's little things like that which Elias doesn't get credit for, which I see a lot of. He's a brilliant carrier. We know that. He's great in the defensive line. He does his basics well. Scrummaging, you know, he is probably the best scrummaging. He is the best scrummaging hooker Wales got, even against Ken. He'll put Ken on his ass 1v1 in a scrum. I've seen it myself going down to some of the training sessions before now, and you know there is a lot to like about Elias, but it is more old standing. It is, you know, your less mobile front rows, and it's probably one of the reasons why I like him so much, because I am more of that older style. I like my bread and butter. I'll do my scrum. I'll do my line out. I'll tackle where I have to, you know. But in regards to playing out the back, you know, being involved in the line with your hands, okay, you are going to see more of that with them because that's just their style, and it's a hard one to call. I mean, Gats is never going to go for an expansive game, so Elias does fit in with that. But, you know, against Dewi Lake, and to say that there are better hookers around, I don't 100% agree with that.
Well, I looking at the way we played the game without him last year, I quite enjoyed watching us play when he wasn't on the pitch. But then we've released 2 out of those 3 hookers. And I think the thing is now is, so Ken's out crocked. Let's assume that Elias is a little bit iffy for a while. There's not a massive amount of depth, you know, throughout Wales in terms of hooker. We've got through quite a lot of them quite quickly, and you know, I thought Elliot D was okay. I thought he puts himself about. He does what Elliot D does. He's like having another back rower on the pitch, and he's an aggressive runner, particularly in space. And yeah, I think it depends on your game plan. Like you say with Gatland, if he's going to go tight, then yeah, you'd want someone like Elias there. But if you take Elias out of there, you know, who replaces that scrummaging old school hooker? I don't think we've got anyone. I think all of our hookers after Elias are the more creative, you know, back row hybrid sort of thing. So, what did you make of it, Hugh? What did you make of the front row and the pack and all of that kind of stuff, mate?
Well, obviously we had the 2 novice props on in the first half, and they did struggle in the first half because England were dropping all these balls, and you're thinking, well, hey, and then you're like, oh no, because now we've got to have a scrum and we're going to get pinged. To be fair, there were a few scrums where it did go all right. I think Azarati might be a little bit disappointed. Unfortunately, I want the best for him. I want him to succeed, but he might be a little bit disappointed how it went. Domachowski missed a couple of tackles as well. I won't hammer players too much for missing tackles, but there was a couple where I thought should have made that one, mate. But then when Henry Thomas came on, who is definitely Welsh, he made a good impact. He had England going backwards. He had, I don't know if it was Genge at that point or the guy who came on to replace him, whose name escapes me, but he had them going backwards. So yeah, in terms of hookers though, I agree with you, Matt. I think Dewey Lake is going to be the future. He's obviously captain for this game coming up that we'll talk about a bit later. And I think he's going to be either in the starting squad or captain of the 15 for the next coming years. And I think he's got a good chance of making the next Lions tour.
Well, let's talk about this week's game then, and link that into last week's via.
Hang on, do you want to talk about Plumtree?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We can talk about how Plumtree came on last week and is now at number 8. and how that went, because he's a big old boy, isn't he? There's a lot to him, and I think he's got a little bit of aggression issues, if I'm honest with you. What did you make of him, Hugh?
I've heard that as well. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that he is abrasive, which is cool. He looks all right as well. I didn't recognize it. He was warming up on the touchline. I saw this guy with this curly blonde hair, and I thought, who's that? But obviously it was him. And as you say, he came on at 6, and then he moved into the row, and George North moved to 6. So, Lee, have we found George North's position? Is he a blindside?
For me, George North is a water boy, and best place on the side, coming on to give everybody encouragement when things are down. But
well, he did win a few scrum penalties as a blindside. But anyway, so Taine goes into the second row. He did well. Look, with players, Gats always says you need to have speed, size, or skill. 2 of those 3. Taine has got size and skill. He is he's an athlete, which you can't coach necessary players to be in terms of the natural physical attributes he's got. His height. You don't get back rowers who are 6'5", generally not at test level. And his ability to slot into the row, he was jumping in the lineouts. What people need to realise is, since Tipperick is gone, we need another back row line out forward. And Plumtree will be that. I think the other thing that people need to realise about Plumtree is that this transfer of him from the Blues down in Super Rugby to the Scarlets has been a long time in the making, and Gatland has been all over it. It was a big part of that transfer, I'm told. And it will have been... there's a guy here born in Swansea. If we can get him playing for a region, we can get him into the Wales team. And I think people read too much into him not playing Super Rugby, because I think it would, like I said, it's been in the works for a while. So I think the Blues would have thought, this guy's off, let's prioritise other players. Because that's kind of what the Ospreys did with Joe Hawkins a bit, I reckon, as well. So I think it looks like he's played in this game, and now he's starting in 8 at the weekend. I think he's on the plane to France, and I think he's going to be playing for Wales a lot, which is a bit gutting from a Scarlet's point of view, because it means we're not going to see very much of him.
I'd like to see him at a training session at the park, to be honest. I don't think he's actually picked up his training kits.
I don't think he's worn a Scarlet's jersey yet.
No, he's not even done the... Did he do the welcome video at the Scarlets? I think he did a welcome video where they showed him walking around the stadium. I think that was him. And then next day he's in the Welsh squad. And it was like, nice to see you fellas. Lovely to be home. I'm off. It's such a crap New Zealand accent. What did you make of him, Matt?
I'm going to put this out there right now. You were early talk about him having a bit of aggression, being rather abrasive. I like him. But if that cameo, on the weekend is anything to go by, I am going to love this boy. He was in it from the off, and, he showed quite a bit of skill for, a short time on the pitch. Stealing line-out ball, making a good few jackals, successfully turn over. And he didn't take a backward step. I mean, me and you talked all last season, Lee, about needing someone in the row, to that sort of that security guard, that monitor, the one who controls the ruck area. And he might not be a lock, as in, starting at lock for us, week in, week out, but he certainly seems that style of player that can enforce the sort of conduct around that area. And, especially after Shunza's performance, or should we say lack of last week, he's definitely leapfrogged quite a few places in that pecking order. And I 100% agree, right now he's got his ticket on our plane.
The bit I'm looking forward to him this weekend is, and this is something that you don't see, so I used to play number 8. And I used to love that little bit where you get a step forward, so the ball's at your feet, you get a step forward, there's a slight twist to the right, and you're running at the 10. Your ball's under the arm, you just go straight outside the 9 and 6 anyways, or 9 and 7 because they're too slow. And the ball you're up and you're running at in between 10 and 12. I would love to see Plumtree picking up off the base of a scrum somewhere on the halfway line and just going at Farrell or whoever's there, and just with that aggression and going, have some of this, son.
And then Farrell can hit him in the face and then not get red carded because it's Owen Farrell, and then Tame Plumtree is out injured for a year.
He'd have to jump a fair
stuff like that now, man.
But you'd have to jump a fair bit to actually get him around the face, to be fair, because he's quite. But yeah, I just look forward to see. I mean, we've only seen Falatau do it a couple of times, and you tend to see Falatau doing it with the scrum going backwards, where he's got to kind of find his way out of trouble. And I would just like to see Welsh number 8 pick up off the back of a scrum and just go at someone. And
I tell you who has done that before, which is relevant. Moriarty used to do that, but Moriarty, I don't know if you've seen this on socials, Moriarty is not a fan of Tame Plumtree.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it? Have you seen it, Matt?
I'm going to take that as a no, Matt. No, Matt.
No.
I was on mute a sec. I had one of the kids, but he in my ear for something. Okay. Sorry, but no, I haven't seen what's going on with that scrum cap tearing, vandalising bugger over in France.
So what's the deal between them?
So Morris Moriarty posted on Instagram saying, "I can't imagine how other Welsh players who play in Wales are feeling seeing Tame Plumtree run on the pitch right now." And some people took the time to remind him that who was it you won the under-20 championship with it again, Ross? Oh yeah, England. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's no questioning Ross Moriarty being Welsh. Obviously, his dad and his uncle are, but it was unnecessary from Mr. Moriarty, I think a lot of people would say. I mean, Tame Plumtree, okay, he's grown up in New Zealand. He was born in Swansea and he plays for the Scarlets. Like, what do you want? What more can he do for you to convince him that he's Welsh?
I just think Moriarty's a little bit angry and annoyed that he's been overlooked.
He's only been in New Zealand.
Go on.
I'll be honest. If you look at Tame Plumtree's his childhood and everything, he only actually moved to New Zealand in 2015. So he's only lived there for 8 years of his life. He spent the rest of it in South Africa or Wales and traveling around places. His father's is a Kiwi. His mother's South African. He was born in Wales. It really doesn't matter. He had quite a few choices for there. And, he ended up in New Zealand, which, brilliant for us because they've got some of the best academy systems, or at least, player development system in the world. And, we get a benefit from that. It's unfortunate we didn't, take up the offer with another back rower a few years ago by the name of Shannon Frizzell. Everyone overlooked him when he had Welsh roots. And I'm just glad we're not making the same mistake again.
Might have been a slight dodge bullet with Shannon Frizzell because he's had some off-field troubles that we won't talk about. But yeah, maybe that was a bit of a Corey Hill sort of situation.
All of that passed me by. I'll be honest. I was just way back then. I was just looking at what was happening.
With the bad, man. Look at the players we've got.
Losing you there, Matt. Wait. So anyway, let's look at this weekend and players that you're looking forward to see from this weekend. And there aren't that many actually on the pitch to start with. There's only really Tom Rogers and Joe Roberts that make a start. And I think out of those, probably Tom Rogers has got the most to prove. And I think Joe Roberts has been given an opportunity to make of it what he will. So yeah, what do you make of those two? What are you hoping for those two from this weekend, Matt? What do you think?
I think, like you said, this is a big opportunity for both of them. I think it's an even bigger opportunity for Joe Roberts. I think he's got a chance here to nail this 13 shirt. because no one has put their hand up and said, this is mine. We can speak at length about George North and how he's not a 13. Mason Grady, okay, he's had the shirt doing the Six Nations for a few games, and he's looked all right in an attacking sense, but defensively, he seems to have a way to go. But if you look at Joe Roberts' performances, since he, came back from a second ACL injury back in January, his defensive game is brilliant, and he holds the attacking threat too. I mean, he shut up Lukanyuam when he was the best 13 in the world. That's not an easy job to do. And I honestly believe that, Roberts has the capabilities to really nail this shirt and keep it for the World Cup and probably for another cycle. The only harsh thing that, I'm a little bit disappointed in is I would have hoped that, like they've done with the Ospreys front five, they've kept them all together. They might have said, okay, why don't we stick with, why don't we put Kieran Hardy and Costello as our 9-10 just to make, a few of those new boys, your Rogers and your Roberts, a bit more comfortable in the back line. But, that hasn't happened.
So, Hugh, what do you make of, what are you hoping to see from, let's say, is he 11 or so? Tom Rogers at 11. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he was 11 or 14. So, is it going to make that much difference which wing he's on?
Well, again, Harley, when I was talking to him, was saying it's going to make a massive difference. But that's more about the fact that he doesn't like Josh Adams playing on the right. But obviously, the question I think with Tom is he a wing or is he a fullback? He's
fullback.
Yeah. So I was going to say he's obviously been playing fullback for us. So with Halfpenny and Liam Williams, you'd think not being involved with Wales beyond this World Cup, is Tom Rogers going to be the next cab off the rank at fullback? Well, he's not going to play there in this game. So I don't know. So I think it's a big opportunity for him. I think we're stacked in the wingers at the moment, unfortunately. What with Dyer, Adams, Zammit, and obviously Sanjay can cover there as well. And I feel like I'm forgetting someone. So he might not get
Caterpillar.
Who's the Caterpillar? I've not heard that.
Cuthbert.
Oh, Cuthbert.
Oh, yeah.
I think Cuthbert's gone. I think Cuthbert's not going. I think he's still finished.
Named in the squad. So until he's officially ruled out, and being that he's a giant, I'm not ruling him out.
Oh yeah, maybe he is. Like, if you look at his height and weight on paper, you realise just how big he is compared to other wingers. But anyway, so yeah, I'm excited to see Tom. I hope it works. I hope, like you say, he's not too isolated out there, and he doesn't get sold up the river. I think I agree with everything you said, Mark, about Joe Roberts. I think he is the most natural 13 in the squad. I think Grady's obviously got advantages over him in terms of physique. Like, basically, Grady's bigger than Jamie Roberts. That's how big he is. But I think Joe Roberts is a more natural centre, more natural 13. But the size discrepancy is large, and we've got a small midfield, Tompkins and Roberts. That is pretty much the smallest pairing we could have put out. But yeah, excited. I hope he goes well. England's midfield isn't that good, so I don't expect him to be worried at all about whether it's Ollie Lawrence or... Actually, I don't want to go on about England too much. They dropped Guy Porter, right, from their squad. Apparently, Guy Porter's going to play this game because Borthwick doesn't want to risk Tuilagi. That's how things are going over there. Anyway, so I don't think he'll be worried about England centres. So I hope he goes well, and I hope he doesn't get injured. And Joe Roberts was so vital to us last season. It's literally like the two halves of the season. Yeah, we were crap in the first half, good in the second half. What happened in the second half? Joe Roberts was there. It's literally that stark. So yeah, but I'm hoping and praying. I'd love to see him be the 13 going forward. I think he's behind Grady at the moment in Gatland's thinking. but this is me thinking what Gatland thinks rather than what I think. But yeah, a good show here, and I think he can do himself a lot of favours.
I think the thing with Joe Roberts is he spent the last 4 or 5 seasons working alongside Foxy. Yeah. And Foxy's almost a coach every now and again at the Sky. He's really good at imparting knowledge and encouraging other players and bringing people on. And Scott Williams as well, when he's not in plaster. So I think having the defensive time with Foxy puts him ahead of George North. I think that's where my issues with George North are defensively and creatively. George North doing a sidestep, or maybe 4 or 5 that I can remember. Whereas Joe Roberts jinking, getting out of tackles, is he tackled? He's up, how did that happen? And that was just, say, in half a season. So for me, I think this is a massive opportunity for Joe Roberts to really not just put his name on the sheet, but stamp his name as the number 113. I agree with you about the size of Grady, and I think that is an issue, particularly if you've got, if you imagine Costello, Tompkins, and then Roberts, and you go like, someone let the youth team out to play, boys. But I think we've got to make that work in our favour. I really do, because I think we've got more creativity.
Man.
You are? Say it again, man.
And does. I'd love to get those 3 apart together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I just think with the size of, I think it's going to be horses for courses when Gatland will pick and choose when he's going to go with Grady and when he's going to go with Roberts. But I definitely think this is his opportunity, and he only needs
Grady's
2 or
3. Sorry to cut across you, mate. Grady's got the chemistry with Llewellyn as well. Obviously both coming from Cardiff, and I think Gats likes Max Llewellyn a fair bit as well for the same reason.
But he's not put him on he's not playing, is he? Llewellyn?
No, he played last week, didn't he?
But I think, sorry, go ahead, Matt, sorry.
No, he's not there. And when Grady came on, it was a little bit of who goes where for a couple of minutes and stuff like that, wasn't it? So, yeah, we shall see. So,
yeah, can we get on to the most exciting Scarlet player we're going to get to see this week?
I was about to say, chances are coming off the bench, Kemsley Mathias and Kieran Hardy. And that's who you're looking forward to seeing, isn't it?
I thought you were going to say Via Fafita for Tonga. Actually, they're playing tonight. I'll look it up in a minute. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've done Plumtree.
I can't wait to see Mathias on the pitch.
Same. If he scores a try, I'm going to go mad.
Yeah, it's Sam Parry, Kemsley Mathias, and is it Dylan Lewis? Yeah, Dylan Lewis. Yeah, I didn't think he was selected. So I think we know what we're going to get from Hardy. I think we know where that will be. I think we know that there's going to be you can't take your eyes off him. There's going to be a couple of tap and goes, which is what I think we need to break up, sides like South Africa and New Zealand. We need to not play into their kind of expectations. We need to break the game and do the stuff, and Hardy's the guy for that. But yeah, Kemsley Mathias had a superb second half to the season for us. Can you see him working his way into this side?
In all honesty, after seeing both Domkowski and Nicky Smith on the weekend, I've put Mathias. He was already on the plane in my mind. Not anyone else's. In my mind, he is. He's in our 23 years. Him and Gareth Thomas are my 23 loose heads. But seeing both of their performances last Saturday, he has actually climbed a few steps without having to do anything. The only issue I have is because of those performances, I feel that Gatland has given him a very short stick, giving him probably the weakest hooker and weakest tight head to go on with. So he's going to have a hell of a job when it comes to scrummaging if he's going to make an impact, because he's got to carry those two.
But having said that, let's say someone goes down injured in the first 10 minutes and he gets a full 70 minutes on the pitch. That's where he needs to be, really, because he is that kind of player that grows into a game around the pitch and all of that kind of stuff. I definitely think in the same way that Wyn Jones came from nowhere 4 years ago and established himself as one of the best props in the UK. I think I can see Kemsley Mathias coming and doing a similar job over this World Cup. I really can. I think he's got the strength, he's got the fitness, he's got the power, he's got the aggression, he's got the technique. He can pass, he can run. He's got a massive beard. He's not got stupid hair. He ticks a lot of boxes for me in those kind of things, So yeah, I just hope he gets a decent crack as well. I hope he gets a decent crack on that. Well, what do you make of him, Hugh?
Yeah, again, I hope he gets a decent go. It's a good point about who he's coming on with. Would be the slightly weaker. I think I know with the Scarlet Supporter Squad, I hope we have at least one Ospreys listener who's just heard Martin completely dismiss Nicky Smith. I just want to see the rage. I think he's fighting for the third spot behind Thomas and Smith. I've been wrong. I think, does Gats like Nicky Smith, or is he one of the ones he likes to get rid of? I can't remember.
I think he likes him. I'm not 100%, but he's got like 40 odd caps, so I'm pretty sure Gats does like him.
But he was under a lot of pressure to include him, wasn't he? He was, because he dismissed him for the Six Nations, and he was under a lot of pressure to include Nicky Smith in the training camp. And I thought Nicky Smith had a pretty decent game last weekend, I'll be honest. But it depends. It depends on Gatland's game plan. Does he want to try and stick a pack that can run through South Africa and France, which that's got to be a pretty big pack to try and do that? Or does he want a pack that's going to outthink, outsmart, outrun, do some things differently that confuse them and they can't defend against it, and I think that's where Kemsley Mathias comes into it, where he can actually think around the park as well. And I think that's what we miss on the pitch pretty much 1 to 15 a lot of the time, is people who can think about the game and go, like I said with Costello, going kick left, kick right, and having the clarity of mind to go, okay, I've left 3 players out on the right, they've only got the one, bang, there goes the ball, regardless of what the game plan says. Having somebody that can go, their scrum was a little bit weak on that last one. I'm going to really go for it now. I'm going to tuck him and twist him, and their props off. That's what you want from a modern day prop. So.
I don't want to brag up another 13 other than Roberts, but that's exactly what Grady did at points last week, especially when he took the option to pick and go from a ruck and almost went over himself. We don't see that sort of individual thinking. It's sort of that automatic, I have to secure the ball, not I can move this ball myself or I can take it on. We don't see those sorts of brains anymore.
But that's when Grady was playing in the forwards. Grady came on and went into the forwards, and the first thing he did is he picked the ball up and ran 15 metres, and everyone was going, shit, is that what are we allowed to do that? Did anyone check if we were allowed to run 15 metres with the ball? It'd be good to see him there. Right, let's wrap this together then, gents, with a couple of predictions for this weekend. So, Martin, score predictions for England versus Wales in Twickenham's second World Cup warm-up game. What's your thoughts?
Thoughts are Borthwick is going to be steaming. He's going to be so angry with these boys. Not just the fact that we dominated basically the whole game in the scrum or the line out. There's going to be a bit of a backlash. I'm looking at it, and I'm always going to back Wales, same as I always back the Scarlets. Even though I might know it's going to go the other way, I'm still going to back ourselves. I'll go for something like 27-24 Wales.
27-20, yeah, or 27-24.
27-24.
Oh, okay. It's narrowed it to 3 already. Hugh, what's your prediction?
Normally in these World Cup fixtures, if one team wins one, the other team wins the other. And I think Borthwick can't afford to lose. I think I got told by someone who got told by someone in the English press that the press are very close to turning on Borthwick. And I think he can't be losing, not at Twickenham in a World Cup warm-up match against Wales. So I think England will do enough. I don't think it will be pretty. I think Wales may lose, but I think we'll come out of the game with more credit because we're playing the experimental side. So I'm going to go 26-22 to England.
See, no, I'm thinking that actually England are in a much worse position than people give them credit for. I think that there are so many issues inside the English game as a whole, and they've been pinning their hopes on the World Cup's gonna come around a little bit Welsh. We'll have a decent World Cup and we can forget about all the other issues in the game. And I think that the issues within the English game, within English players, are so deep. I don't think it's a happy camp. I think all the changes, you'll go in, you're out, you're in the hokey-cokey squad system, has really not worked for a lot of those players. So I'm going to go that England are actually just going to nuts this up. I really do. England are they're going to come out and they're going to go, right, we're going to take them on up front and we're going to do all this stuff up front and we're going to match them and then we're going to move the ball out and actually we're going to start scoring tries and England will implode. So I'm going to go for a very brave prediction of exactly the same score as last week is my prediction. I'm going to go 20 points to 9 for Wales. And like you say, I think a lot of people in England are ready to turn on Borthwick and a lot of those players. And it will be an absolute pleasure to sit back and watch another international side just beat themselves up 8 weeks out or 6 weeks out from a World Cup. Because this is what we do in Wales. Traditionally, around about this time, we sack our coach, we get rid of 5 players, and we go, right, we're going to bring in a whole load of new players that nobody's ever heard of from New Zealand and Granny Gate and all that kind of stuff. And it would be nice to see England do that instead of us. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I, for one, will be sitting back, unfortunately, just with a glass of water, but I will be sitting back and watching it happily on that. So before we finish up tonight, gents, I'm going to just say a couple of thank yous to myself, from myself for over the last couple of weeks. So for those of you that don't know, I had a bit of a spell in hospital. I got quite serious at one point. And I just want to say thank you to you two for keeping spirits up as we go along, and obviously the boys on the Rap podcast as well for the same thing. Wife and family, all of that goes without saying, but until you go through something like this, you don't realise how impactful it is on everybody around you. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that's helped with my care. Particularly everyone on Ward 4 at Withybush. Genuinely, I would not be here, not just tonight, but I would not be here at all if it hadn't have been for some of the people on Ward 4 pushing my case. So a massive thank you to them, and a massive thank you to everyone that sent me messages. It does make a massive difference. And just to be back on the pod, it was one of the first things that I wanted to do, just to get, they tell you, get your life back together, try and find some kind of normality. And I just thought, do you know what? I could just sit there and talk crap about rugby for a couple of hours, and I'd be as happy as could be. And so for that, gents, I thank you again. And on that note, we shall catch up and do this again next week. We shall discuss the England game and preparations for the South Africa game and anything that comes out of the Scarlets. And on that note, I shall bid you farewell and good night. All the best, gents. Good night.
Cheers, Lee.
Good night, mate. Cheers.
Matt.
Nice talking with you, boys. See you again.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. Please subscribe and share, as it really helps to grow the Scarlets family. You can contact us in all the usual social media platforms or on scarletspems@gmail.com. Join us again next week for more of the same, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.